High water erosion is causing major issues to some land and homes in Delta County. Local 3's Rebecca Bartlemay followed the Delta Conservation District as they showed her some of the most impacted areas.
With 187 miles of Lake Michigan shoreline, 191 inland lakes, and 1,215 river miles between Delta and Schoolcraft counties, you can see there is a lot of water in that region. With Michigan being at high precipitation rates and water levels steadily rising, these beautiful waters can also cause serious damage to our land and homes.
There was probably trees and brush that went out at least the length of a football field. When the water was lower a few years ago, the water edge was actually 1/4 mile out. And now it's right here.
Rory Matson, the CEO of the Delta Conservation District, is talking about OB Fuller Campground in Bark River.
We've had some pretty good devastation over the last fall and this spring, where the Lake Michigan has rose up and basically just started moving in on the campground. We've lost quite a few sites here. I don't know if they can see the posts behind me, but they're just barely sticking out of the ground. They're 4-foot posts.
Matson says it's extremely devastating for areas with sand, as the water can easily wash it away and take the things growing from the ground with it.
Yeah, that tree was lucky. It grew that big root all the way into here, but it's still not going to make it because it's got, almost its whole root balls exposed. It's amazing, though, it's still standing there.
A lot of the brush gets swept into Lake Michigan, never to be seen from again, or leaves a mess on the shore for crews to clean up. Next, Matson took me to near the mouth of the Bark River.
This year, I didn't think we were going to have a bad runoff because things broke up really slow. We had cold nights, we got some warm days, it melted very slow, so we didn't get the ice jams. But with the groundwater being as high as it is from last fall, in the last 3 years, that any of the snow that was melting, any of the precipitation through rain that we got this spring, what ended up happening is that water had no place to go. So it just hit the ground, started to move across the top as surface water, started to move through the ground, went right to the rivers, and there was such a rush of water coming down this year, it just tore out vegetation everywhere. So here again in Fuller Park, we have all these tree jams now on the river. And a lot of people say that's great for wildlife, it's great for fish habitat, but the problem we're going to have next year now, if we leave it, is that if we do get it to break up where the ice comes down, and it has in the past, catches these, it'll rip these trees and roots right out of the banks. It'll try to go around them, and it'll really tear up the banks, and it could even tear up the road.
We also checked out some homes and properties that are in trouble because of these high waters, like this one in Escanaba.
But it was out 65 feet and just got eaten right up.
Or this one where the homeowner can't easily go out to dry clothes on the clothesline anymore.
This is a good example why the groundwater now, all the basements are flooded.
Depending on the number of factors, the action plan to resolve this issue is not the same for everyone, like this homeowner in Stonington who had to act fast. Matson suggested building this wall as the water was quickly eating away at the sand and getting closer and closer to the home. Other homes nearby are feeling the same impact, but not as seriously because their homes are farther away from the water. But if you are experiencing issues, Matson says don't wait on it.
If you wait, it really is hard to do. And then, depending on what it took out, regulated by the federal and the state, it depends on an elevation called the ordinary high water mark, but it's also where the water is. So if you wait too long, things that you could have did before, maybe even without a permit, except for soil and erosion, or got a permit from the state or the feds, you may not be able to get now.
For a more in-depth look at this issue, Matson will be giving a presentation on the radio on News Talk 600 at WCHT AM tomorrow morning from 9 to noon. While listening, you can follow along on a presentation under the high water erosion issues link at deltacd.org.
We're going to do a 2-hour, 2.25-hour presentation and then have questions that come in. It's a live show.
Matson says it's important to address this now because it's impacting a lot of people.
I'm getting probably 100 calls now a month because people's basements are leaking or their crawl spaces are leaking, and it's basically precipitation events over the last 5 years.
Reporting in Delta County, Rebecca Bartlemay, Local 3 News.